Right now at 6, carjackings in broad daylight. What we know about the string of thefts in D.C.'s Capitol Hill neighborhood as police search for a suspect. Plus, new gun control legislation set to be signed into law tomorrow. But one gun rights group says they're ready to challenge it. That conversation live this hour. And Democrats launching a new affordability agenda 100 days out from the midterms. What they believe needs to be tackled before November and beyond. Fox 5 News at 6 starts right now. A string of daylight car break-ins in Northeast D.C. has police searching for a suspect and asking for the public's help to identify the person responsible. Fox 5's Regina Ureta is live on 7th Street with the surveillance photos investigators hope will lead to an arrest. Regina?
Yeah, Katie, like you mentioned, those break-ins, car break-ins, I should say, they happened here on 7th Street and Northeast. You can see this block down here, the street, cars parked over here, very little than usual, and that's because there is reserved parking for today. But you can see right here still the damage in this area, probably from one of the cars that were targeted. We know that this potential suspect was smashing some of the windows of these vehicles. Now, take a look on your screen. Surveillance cameras capture the person police are searching for, along with the Nissan investigators say was used to get away. According to D.C. police, officers were called to 7th Street around 1:40 p.m. on Monday for reports of multiple car break-ins. Investigators say the suspect smashed the windows of 3 parked cars, stole property from 2 of them, then took off before officers arrived. Authorities are hoping someone recognizes either the suspect or that vehicle. And if you have information, you're asked to contact law enforcement. A reward up to $1,000 is being offered for information that could lead to an arrest. So if you have any information that could help with this incident, again, you are asked to call police department. Back to you.
Montgomery County police looking into what led up to an early morning shooting in North Bethesda. Officials say just before 6:30, police were called into Wilkins Avenue for reports of a disorderly group. There, they found a man suffering from a gunshot wound. He was taken to a local hospital where he is expected to survive. At the hour, police have not provided a description of the suspect. A man is dead after crashing in Silver Spring. Montgomery County police say it happened around 4:30 yesterday morning on New Hampshire Avenue. Investigators say that man hit a median before driving into a tree. He was taken to the hospital where he later died. Officials have not released the identity of the driver or the cause of the accident. Now let's get a check on our forecast this hour. You're taking a live look across our region from the Fox 5 Skycam network. Temperatures set to rise again this week with another chance of storms on the way. Our Jennifer Delgado joins us now with the check on the forecast. Jen, you could see those clouds bubbling up in the sky on the drive here.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we've seen that. But right now, we've been dry. There were a few little sprinkles showing up across Prince George's County. But other than that, it's been a really nice weekend, Katie. We will see a better chance, an increased chance and threat for showers and thunderstorms as we go through tomorrow, as well as into your Tuesday, where we're looking at a severe weather threat setting up for a good chunk of the area. So for tonight, we do have the chance for a few pop-up showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm around. Warmer and more summer-like conditions return. And then, as I said to you, we're going to be looking at these storms becoming a bit more on the gusty side as we roll into early this week. Temperature right now, 82 degrees in Frederick, 82 degrees in Gaithersburg, and then 84 degrees in Quantico. Our temperatures just a couple degrees warmer than they were this time yesterday, but today's high was 85. Average is 90 degrees, so we are still running unseasonably cool. This is what day 5 of temperatures running below the high of 90 degrees. And then, of course, we didn't get any rainfall today. But if we look outside, this is our camera out of the stacks. I like this view. It's just at a different angle. Our temperature, 82 degrees. Our winds are from the south, and our dew points are in the upper 60s, meaning it feels warmer than the actual temperature. But it's not bad because those temperatures are on the cool side. Dew points all across the area are in the 60s, even 70 right now in Manassas. When you get those dew points in the upper 60s and 70s, that's when you start to feel more humid conditions. And that is what's going to be returning tomorrow as well as into Tuesday. And then we're going to get some relief from it. So we look at our satellite and radar. Overall, we have lots of clouds around, but just a few little sprinkles of showers moving into parts of Anne Arundel County. It is dying out. No lightning strikes. We like to see a quiet radar on the weekend, but on the wider view, we do have this disturbance here. And that is why we do have that chance for maybe an isolated pop up later on tonight. Here's your planner for tonight. We go from the 80s to 69 degrees for the overnight low for tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, Katie, there's your high of 88 degrees. We are in the marginal risk category for severe weather. We'll talk more about the other threat for this week in just a few minutes. Back over to you.
All right. Thanks, Jen. German police have killed a suspect in a deadly Berlin Pride attack. Authorities say police fired a single shot at Abdu Balaut, a German citizen, during a confrontation in a Berlin suburb. He died at the scene. Balaut was suspected of driving through a crowd and stabbing some with a machete. One person was killed and 29 others were injured. Officials say they believe it was an Islamic extremist terror attack. President Trump holding off on strikes against Iran for a second day now as the Strait of Hormuz remains in limbo. Iran also pausing retaliatory efforts against other Gulf nations with ties to the U.S. It comes as President Trump has repeatedly said Iran is ready to come back to the negotiating table. The Trump administration maintains there is no timetable to getting a peace deal in place, and the U.S. remains firm on opening the Strait of Hormuz and putting a permanent end to Iran's nuclear enrichment program. 100 days out now from the midterm elections, if you can believe it. Democrats now pushing forward with a new affordability agenda. Today, House Leader Hakeem Jeffries says the goal is to lower the cost of groceries, gas, and housing. According to U.S. government data, the cost of groceries have spiked 33% since 2019, the largest jump in decades. Maryland Congresswoman April McClain Delaney says voters want to plan on how to fix the economy.
Right now, we are singularly focused on the accountability, affordability, and healthcare, obviously restoration. But we have several task forces across our caucus looking at, rising energy costs, day and elder care, housing.
McClain Delaney faces Republican Robin Ficker in Maryland's 6th congressional district race this fall. Political analysts say control of Congress likely hinges on how voters feel about the economy. Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrich is set to sign new gun control legislation into law tomorrow. This would bring more regulation to so-called ghost guns and restrict firearms in public places like parks and places of worship. The bill aims to put the county in line with state law. I want to bring in Mark Pennack, the president of Maryland Shall Issue, a local gun rights group. Mark, good to see you.
Thank you, Katie. It's good to be here.
So you have vowed in testimony directly to the council to file a lawsuit should this ultimately become law. They passed it last week overwhelmingly. I believe the vote was 10-1. Elrich is set to sign it tomorrow. So I guess the question is, when are you filing?
Tomorrow.
Okay, and what are the primary concerns that you have? Part of the testimony that we saw when you spoke to the council, as well as others, was that there were safety concerns that certain groups in certain places wouldn't be able to defend themselves in the way that they need to, namely places of worship that are becoming targets right now.
Yeah. So under state law, places of worship and synagogues and churches, for example, may employ people who have been issued a Maryland carry permit by the Maryland State Police. These people have been trained and are fully capable of protecting their congregations. Under this particular ordinance that Montgomery County is about to enact into law, these places of which will no longer be able to employ their own members of the congregation to provide security, which basically leaves them naked in terms of their own ability to provide security for these places. I mean, this is not just one day a week. I mean, many of these places are open throughout the week for various and sundry functions, and they simply can't afford to hire private security guards 24/7 to protect them. So this bill basically strips these people of their basic right of self-defense.
Now, while that is one part of the argument, it's not your primary legal argument here. Without giving away too much before the filing tomorrow, talk us through at least Section 1, first priority in the complaint you plan to file.
So count 1 of the complaint will allege that they have failed to comply with what the Maryland Supreme Court held in the case that I litigated to their case called Engage Armament, which challenged a prior version of this statute in Chapter 57 of the County Code. And the Maryland Supreme Court held that you can't regulate permit holders because in doing so, it basically enacts a general law, which is prohibited to localities under the Maryland Constitution. Now, they seek to avoid that ruling by saying, well, okay, permit holders are exempt as long as they're in the vehicles, but they're still covered by this ordinance the moment they get out of their vehicles, which is facially an absurd proposition, because people commute into the county from outside the county, and people in their daily lives go about all these other places that are basically banned under the 100-yard zones that the county has enacted. So the whole idea that this somehow gets them out from underneath engaged armament is facially wrong. Count two, challenge Section 5710, which is a broad basis regulation of firearms everywhere in the county, in which they are not allowed to do under engaged armament as well. They are restricted to places which are 100 yards of a place of public assembly, not the whole county. And count three is a Second Amendment claim, which under most recent Supreme Court precedent, in which I was privileged to represent counsel, they come close to regulating permit holders in this way. So under at least three different bases, they lose.
Just so people can get a visual of what you're talking about, these boundaries, 100 yards from each of these public places, and there's a long list of them. Your point is that it creates these bubbles that basically overlap with so much of the population and so much of the county that it becomes virtually impossible for people traveling through the county and even those that live within the county to step foot outside of their door or to stop over to get gas or something like that and have their concealed carry. That is permitted on them. Sorry, we only have about 20 seconds left, but I just want folks to be able to get a visual of your argument.
That's right. They are. The Supreme Court of Maryland called it pockets that are impermissible. And what they've done is create these 100-yard pockets that are often interlocking in the urban parts of Montgomery County. And you literally cannot get out of your car without violating many of them. So basically, it has created a law that affects everyone in the entire state who are permit holders. And there's over 200,000 of them who are now going to be criminals the moment they step inside Montgomery County and get out of their vehicles.
All right, Mark. Well, I have a suspicion that we'll be talking to you tomorrow as well. Thanks for joining us tonight.